Hey there, everyone. This is Darren Austin Hall coming to you with another Wisdom Warrior transmission from here in beautiful Costa Rica, where I've decided to hunker down with a group and growing community of beautiful beings and artists here. And I feel really good about my decision thus far. But of course, we're just monitoring everything because the world is really flowing through transitions right now, and it's impossible to predict where everything is going to go. And we're really being asked to make friends with mystery right now, which the Native Americans know all about because they call the Creator Great Mystery in some tribes. So it's something to definitely work on. But I think I'll dive right in just by giving some of my own perspectives for those who care about a lot of things that are going on in the world. So, we're weeks now into this pandemic and these earth changes, and there's still a lot of fear and a lot of panic and a lot of unknowns about what's going on in the world, and that's totally normal for dealing with this kind of unprecedented crisis, I believe, and it's really shaking the world. Everyone's feeling it, and in some ways there's this ironic form of unity that is rising in that, and it's ironic as well that I've written about that many times in poems and prose about, we can find a unity in the loftiness of love and rainbows and all that hippie stuff, but there's also unity to be found in despair. I remember writing once, what if we all cried all the grief in our souls, we'd be washed away in the same ocean. And I feel there is a strange kind of unity that's starting to form globally right now that's transcending national identities, religion, and boundaries and borders. And I think it's important that we have a sort of feeling of our humanity, even though it's a feeling of being under threat right now of an invisible kind of adversary. And this is an important moment of convergence. And I take a lot of heart in what I'm learning from, or rather what I've been gleaning from indigenous peoples. There's been some indigenous wisdom keepers who have shared some of their thoughts online, and I think it's important just to have them as a guiding star in one's life, to know resources, to watch videos and get messages even directly from wisdom keepers in indigenous cultures all over the world, for that matter. Indigenous peoples have been living in rapport with the earth. They have an integrity about themselves that a lot of us who have been colonized have lost. An integrity that is based on a devotional servitude to natural law, to ecology, and to spiritual principles as well. And this is why, if you've ever had the opportunity, the blessed opportunity to have an indigenous elder in your life, they are one of the most beautiful displays of humanity that you can ever experience. A lot of them have been through lots of initiations. They've lived a life of ritual their whole life. They have incredible moral integrity. And I've learned a lot recently from soul brother Matt Belair, who has a channel on Facebook called Ancient Echoes, which I highly recommend. And I'm not through this talk. This is a 4-hour Facebook Live that he streamed with two Native American elders, but they shared some really poignant messages. I really urge you to, I'll put a link into Matt's really blessed contribution into this, but one of the elders said, this is a time for us to stop, look, listen, to really reevaluate and wonder, how did we get here as a civilization to this place of being perpetrators of ecocide, of destroying the environment, and really possessing a kind of insanity species-wide, that we would destroy our own home planet, and destroy each other in the process, and create systems of civilization that are so exploitative of ourselves and the natural world. And they go on to say that we really need to evaluate ourselves, evaluate how our personal behavior is involved in that. And it's not a time to blame anyone. It's a time to sit with evaluation, realize this will pass, but we're getting a very strong wake-up call from the earth herself. She's been trying to get us to listen for a very, very long time, and now we're dealing with something that we can't aim guns at, we can't shoot, we can't kill. It's really a natural force of correction. And some would say that viruses are actually cleansing agents that can come into the being and help cleanse the body in a very intense, abrasive way. and I believe we're dealing with that on a collective level. So, and to echo that, a Colombian elder that my friend, my soul sister Estelle shared with, she got a message from a Colombian elder who said along similar lines, that now is not a time to be doing so much in the world. We shouldn't be trying to do big projects right now. And I don't want to chide anyone, because I mean this video is a doing, but I know a lot of people are trying to make ends meet, for one, in this kind of transitional period, which is very stressful. I understand that highly. But governments are starting to offer support, which is great. I know it's a bit delayed and people are feeling it in Canada, where I'm from originally, but in April they're going to start handing out financial assistance, which is useful, because I think we really do need to stop, look, listen, and take some time here to really figure out how are we going to radically change our lives, our world, our civilization. And that goes for myself too. Matthew Remsky wrote a poignant article the other day, and he kind of called out certain modern day spirituality, and in some ways I didn't agree, but there were definitely some points they made that I did agree with. And I think spirituality, for one, has been used as many things. We use it as a marketing service or a tool to make money in this culture, and I think we've all got to look at that, because moving forward a new system has to come into play that's going to be radically different. That's not going to necessarily be about everyone out for themselves, everyone becoming rich themselves, profiting themselves, making X and X and X amount of dollars, and hey, you can make this much money, blah 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 blah. That's a very old paradigm. The only way forward is, how are we going to figure out an economy that is based on giftedness, on sacredness, and really helping each other out. I do believe that how we manage this crisis right now is going to be a telltale sign about how the quality of this new culture, this new paradigm will be. And I think a lot of it based right now around the idea of we need to really help each other out. I think a lot of the fear, as I wrote about recently, is based in movies and media that's conditioned us. There's so many disaster movies out there, pandemic movies, for gosh sakes, almost follow to a script what's happening right now. And there's always this point where society seems to teeter into collapse, and people go crazy and start violating each other in all kinds of heinous ways. But if we look at the great mystics, if we look at the great spiritual masters who have said for eons that it's quite simple, we really just have to live in love, and realize that we're all one family, we're all one interdependent, radical, arising life. And this is not some hippie-dippy bullshit. This is Buddhist, this is Christian, this is Judaic, this is all the religions, their universal kind of truth converging together. I've said the same thing. If we just love each other, check in. What needs do you have? Am I in abundance? Can I serve those needs? You don't need to steal from me or what have you. This is a time to really care for each other and realize that this system has pitted us against love, that it's really made us lead lives of self-serving prophecy, not towards any kind of transpersonal goal. And guess what? We now have a transpersonal threat that's beyond us, and that's pointing us towards a transpersonal mission of coming together to take care of each other and help each other. And there's a lot of that showing up in the world, so I'm really happy to see that. I think a lot of us have been kind of actually waiting for this. And I'll share as well that Colombian elder said something to Estelle that Estelle shared with me that really moved me, and I found even a little harrowing. And because Estelle was sharing about we need to do prayers, everyone wants to do prayers, and she said, don't do prayers. This thing that's happening right now is the answer to our prayer. So we've been praying for. We've been praying for the world to shift, for somehow this system to stop, to come to a screeching halt, for all of humanity to come to a point of looking in the mirror, individually, collectively, so that we can actually make a pivot and path of evolution along a different course that's more harmonic with the universe and more loving and caring. I invite you to contemplate that. I think that's really, really profound. And to tie in with this other subtitle that I put on the video, conspiracy chaos. Um, Zipping back to what the elder shared in Matt's talk, but this isn't a time to blame anyone. I think we really need to sit with that, and of falling into the pitfalls of conspiracy culture. And I just want to start by, before I get into this little section of things, to prelude by saying that I really think it's a disservice that conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorists is right now a knee-jerk derogatory term that's leveled at people. I come from a background in media studies. I have a Bachelor of Honors in Media Information Technoculture that I got from the University of Western Ontario. And we actually had courses where we studied at the time conspiracy culture. It was called disinformation. And it was based on the fact that governments and the media have been in collusion for decades. It was created as a colluded entity from corporate and political interests working together about how to mobilize and socially engineer a population of consumerism, which led to a lot of the problems we have now today. And a lot of their meetings they've hidden a lot of stuff from us. There's a clandestine dimension to how governments and corporations operate. That's super, super evident. That should not even have to be argued. And it does a disservice, because I think for us to understand, to evaluate how did we get to this place as a species where we're running insane belief programs and literally cannibalizing ourselves and our home planet, we need all of the truth to be put on the table. And that doesn't mean we face value take every conspiracy theory as true, which is why I think people have resisted and created this derogatory term around it. But I also think there's a derogatory term around it because people just don't want to know about this stuff. And so it's a kind of like defensive mechanism to shut down those well-meaning people who have done a lot of, research into this stuff like I have. So I just want to say off the bat, please don't use as a derogatory term to shut people down. There is a lot of truth that is being revealed right now that is uncomfortable to look at, and we need to investigate it, and we need to have very clear, respectful dialogue about this stuff, because there is also, among any realm of investigation, there's falsehoods. There's false conspiracies, just like there's false news. Donald Trump was not the person who promulgated fake news. I mean, I thought news was fake after studying how news media work at university and figuring how much money they have to contribute to the military-industrial complex, and seeing, whenever there's a war, every media jumps on the bandwagon, no matter what. But we need to be careful, about the falsehoods. So that means we shouldn't speak with so much conviction, because I know I've spoken with conspiratorial conviction as well, but we should have really honest and open conversations about these things. For example, this whole 5G thing and the coronavirus, to me, it's still worthy of investigation. I've seen both sides, but I think there's something there for us to look into, and I think it's very suspect that I had a friend in Toronto who posted photos yesterday of a truck at Trinity Bellwoods in downtown Toronto setting up a 5G station in the park. And she went and accosted the workers, and they were in much denial. They evaded a lot of her questions. It wasn't until she actually went through phoning and then going back where she found out that they were actually putting 5G in. And I find that really suspicious, that while everyone's quarantined at home, these workers are going around not social distancing themselves and putting up 5G technology all over the city, really messed up. And there's some really interesting scientific medical talks on the whole problem of 5G and why 5G and the coronavirus, there may be a triggering there, whether it was a consciously intended kind of bioweapon, which is still very much talked about in many circles, or just some kind of accident where 5G is just triggering through a decline immune response in people who are in its vicinity, which is what radiation at that level does. It's just compounding this kind of outbreak, because if you look at Wuhan in China, this is very clear, you can research it yourself, it was kind of rolled out as the first 5G test city in China. And Northern Italy, where a lot of their pandemic happened too, the same sort of deal. They had a lot of 5G being rolled out there. So, worthy of investigation, keep open minds about it. It takes all hands on deck to really figure out what truth is. No one is holding the supreme truth. And that's why it's more about how we communicate with each other, and to really be scientists about, to be scientific, because science basically means studying something to get to an understanding about reality through some kind of disciplined process. So in that way, we're all practicing science. But there is a lot of crazy ideas out there right now on the conspiratorial level, and yeah, it's a lot to take. So take small doses of it. It's if you're very new to understanding these elements of the world, it can throw your world for a loop. So make sure you balance it with a lot of love and light, because at the end of the day, the pitfall of conspiracy culture for me is that we're not here to blame the Illuminati or a bunch of reptilian aliens or Satan or whatever, or a bunch of pedophile elites, that are in the upper echelons of royalty and political realms, which is very evidenced, actually. But what we're here to really realize is, when we play into that game, we're playing into a victim identity that we are being hard done by and perpetrated on by these people with this incredibly complex system of oppression. And whether that exists or not doesn't change the fact that each and every one of us as a human being has tremendous latent or active powers of creativity, sovereignty, strength, courage, empowerment, yada yada yada, that you can bring online in this very moment and start to change this world as an unstoppable force of evolutionary impulse. One of the great things I love about spirituality is that people who practice spirituality represent some of the best humans on the planet, I believe. Some of them. There's perpetrators there too. But when you think about your Krishnas, your Jesuses, your Gandhi, your Martin Luther King, some of these people had flaws, there's no doubt about that, but they also were people who created revolutions and huge evolutionary paradigm shifts on the planet. And a lot of that was based on spirituality really illuminating the idea of spirit, this one unified field, this transpersonal purpose where they were leading lives of service to something higher than themselves. And they didn't let, Satan or the demon stop them. In fact, in a lot of episodes when these demonic powers, confront Satan or Buddha, one of my favorites is in the Nag Hammadi library, where the head of the Archons, which is the Gnostics version of the demonic, is confronting Sophia, the goddess of wisdom, who is Earth. And she basically scoffs at this being and says, look, you're going to have 2,000 years of tyranny over humanity, but then they're going to wake up. And when they wake up, they're going to wake up as such a brilliant, radiant force of divine creation that they're going to overthrow this tyranny so quickly that in a generation or two they won't even have remembered you. I love sharing that episode because I believe that's sort of what's happening right now on the planet, and a lot of people have been awakening to their glory and their greatness. I think that's absolutely fucking wonderful. But no more blame games, let's start doing it now. Let's start building a new society. Let's start reaching out to people, taking care of each other, being warriors of love now. Whatever mechanisms of oppression are out there, we are always more powerful. Just read some really good scripture, dive into the Gita, dive into the Bible, Gnostic texts. It's all there. Rumi's poetry. We don't need Marvel superheroes. To be human is already a super heroic state. Just to put that out there. And on that note, I just want to, share with y'all that this is a moment, for us to really display that, to really display our best, and that it is time to really give birth to a sense of the world that's birthed out of love, and a kind of love that we don't know yet what it fully is. This isn't a hippy-dippy love, a romantic kind of love. We're entering into a space of mystery now, of the unknown, and this is an amazing space to create, but we all are also receiving messages right now from Gaia, and something that I've been sharing, that I've been experiencing in Costa Rica rather spontaneously, but if I evaluate the trajectory of my life, it makes kind of sense that these phenomena would be happening for me. But I've been having these paranormal experiences in meditation that started happening almost 2 weeks ago, where I will be sitting and I'll connect to the earth, as I often do in meditation, and I suddenly feel this profound feeling of love, support, and nurturance. And sometimes I even see phenomena such as rainbow-colored shimmering light around me or in my mind's eye. And after that first episode of that happening, it started to be almost like an instinct that any time I would connect to Gaia or have the intention of connecting to the earth, I would feel this love and sometimes these metaphysical experiences of color and light. To the point where I could just be walking to the beach and just take a breath of intention and connect to Gaia, and boom, she's like there. And I can feel her presence, and she feels very talkative and very informing, and I'm getting this kind of message from her that she's extraordinarily happy right now. Happy because we've shut down a lot of the polluting mechanisms that have been polluting her breath, the air that we breathe, polluting her waters, and all of her beloved creatures have been suffering, and also just obscuring our connection to her, because the world that we've created is a very egoic human matrix of a world where we've lived in these closed off cities, closed off worlds from the earth. And that's why a lot of people call our modern civilization a cancer. We've become an island unto ourselves, where we should be flowing in these interdependent channels with the earth at all times. And in most indigenous cultures, they saw the earth as being the guiding realm, that her presence alone was the wisdom that guided us through every difficulty in our lives. And to cut ourselves from that is insane. It's like being a child, being swaddled to the mother's breast, who's nourishing you with growing the milk that's going to grow your body and your strength and taking care of you as this little innocent defenseless child. And we're still in that stage. And it's like the insanity of a little baby just like pushing back mama and saying, hey, you know what? I don't need your breasts, your nurturance, your food, your guidance, your love. I'm going to do this on myself. It's insane. And literally that's what we still are as a species. We need Mama Gaia. So I've been sharing this with other people, this phenomena that's been happening in meditation, and I just want to share with others that other people have been having the same experience. And as I alluded to in the Nag Hammadi library, this scripture that was found, perhaps the only living scripture from the ancient pagans, the European indigenous, they pretended that, or prophesied that there would be this time where Gaia and the goddess that is Earth would kind of awaken from a slumber, a period of great slumber that she's been in for thousands of years perhaps, and she would infuse us with an awakening too, because our consciousness is 100% coupled with hers, and that this awakening would be kind of that moment where we would come to a recognition of our true sovereignty, beauty, and power, and we would break away from the shackles that have been holding us back very easily and heal the wounds that need to be healed, and start living in that beautiful wisdom with rapport with the earth. And this is really extraordinary, because I really see that people are meditating and they're having these experiences of Gaia awakening within their own consciousness. So I want to send out the invitation to others to meditate and send an intention out to connect to Gaia, the goddess that is Mother Earth. And I'd like you to share, your experiences, online, whether in writings, in videos, and share it maybe just with a hashtag Gaia Awakening, or I am Gaian is something that I've been loving, leaning into. John Lamb Lash, who's one of my teachers I've actually never met in the flesh, but his writings have absolutely influenced my life, particularly his writings on the Nag Hammadi library and helping me reclaim European indigenousness. He put forth this term, like Gaian, as if we assert ourselves as people of the earth, as children of the earth. And I really, really feel that we need to start owning that identity. So I also invite you to sit with that I am Gaian statement, even saying it to yourself right now. I am Gaian. Whew, it just, when I say that, my heart's just like, whoo, it just opens up. Like all the petals of the lotus of Anahata are like, whoo, and start going around like a merry-go-round. It's just joyful. And I feel that it's joyful because it's in the dharma of the circumstances of what we're dealing with right now. That everything that's happening right now is trying to get us united so that we can evaluate what's happened, this mystical crime scene where we've all woken up in this incarnation and we're a species that's cannibalizing its home planet. We've all woke up in that. We've got to figure out what are the beliefs that got us to this situation. And at the same time, we've got to start taking control of that steering wheel from a culture that's put us in this passive sailboat of sensationalistic culture where we've all been living these very comfortable lives and just allowing these people who clearly don't know what they're doing to steer things. And it's time for us, to steer things. It's time for us to really take control of this human culture, this human civilization, and start driving it to the direction of whatever that North Star is you want to put in your life. That transpersonal purpose, Gaian, people of the earth, cosmic, earthly harmony, peace, love. Throw those things out there. What is your North Star? Really create that and cultivate that. And each day, you drive after that. Aries, new moon, baby. The archer with the bow and arrow. Bing! What are you shooting towards? That should be a daily practice. In fact, when I teach the archetypal work, that is the daily practice when we get to the warrior archetype. It's called the aiming practice. Every day you spend 5 minutes aiming your consciousness towards that higher purpose. Not your purpose, not how much money am I going to make today, or whatever needs that we have that are selfish. Selfish needs are important. We need to look after ourselves with these two beautiful beings I'm living with right now, Maiwa and Stefan Key from Aluna Ritual Music. We live streamed it with impeccable sound quality here in Costa Rica. It's very deep, it's very beautiful. It's right now on my public page. I'm going to be flinging it over to my artist page later today. Please share it. We were intending to channel, or rather it spontaneously happened that we really just channeled love for the earth, for Gaia. You'll see our refrains of singing to Gaia throughout. A lot of people have gotten a lot of really beautiful healing vibes from this, so I encourage you to watch it, feel it, have watch parties even, and send it around the web so others can really feel this. And I just shared a bunch of new music, my song Oh My Goddess, which is an anthem to kind of the earth, and also a collection of poems, spoken word poems to the sacred feminine. So those are up on my Bandcamp page. If you look up Darren Austin Hall, Bandcamp. So hope you're staying safe. Hope you're staying sacred. Hopefully you're staying guided, inspired, making time for timelessness, more being, less doing. And I hope you're loving yourself and you're loving each other. And make sure that, this isn't all about taking care of all the other people in your life. It's also about being vulnerable enough to say when you need help. I've been helping a few friends out in very beautiful ways, and also asking for help myself. And it's beautiful to return ourselves to that natural sense of reciprocity that, as I wrote once, we should all feel that if we were ever to fall through some kind of crack in this society, in this world, that it would simply be having the beautiful and sweet, graceful experience of falling into each other's arms. Big love to you from Costa Rica, the land of Pura Vida. I'll tune in again. I've been doing these Wisdom Warrior transmissions more and more often as I feel called, and people have been really feeling inspired by them. So thank you. Love you tons. Be glorious.